The first day for the Senate confirmation hearings for Brett Kavanaugh has begun, and a number of things happened during the first day that I want to touch on today. First off, there were a number of protests that took place, but the loudest protest was actually conducted by Senate Democrats. Now, understand that Democrats have very little power in preventing the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh, but one thing the Democrats were asking for from the get-go was access to extensive files, records, documents pertaining to previous judgments that Kavanaugh has made. And Republicans have fought them tooth and nail on that very subject. Now, what you're about to see is how it all unfolded on the first day of the confirmation hearings, and it did get pretty dramatic. Take a look.
To serve as Associate Justice.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be recognized for a question before we proceed.
Regular order.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be recognized to ask a question before we proceed. The committee received just last night, less than 15 hours ago, 42,000 pages of documents that we have not had an opportunity to review or read or analyze.
You're out of order. I'll proceed.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with my colleague Senator Harris. Mr. Chairman, we received 42,000 documents that we haven't been able to review last night, and we believe this hearing should be postponed.
Mr. Chairman, if we cannot be recognized, I move to adjourn.
The American people.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn.
Directly from Judge Kavanaugh later this afternoon.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I appeal to the chair to recognize myself or one of my colleagues.
You're out of order.
Mr. Chairman, I appeal to be recognized on your sense of decency and integrity. Even the documents you have requested, Mr. Chairman, even the ones that you said, the limited documents you have requested, this committee has not received. And the documents we have, you, sir, have labeled committee confidential. They should be transparent. This committee, sir, is a violation of even the values I've heard you talk about time and time again. The ideals that we should have. What is the rush? What are we trying to hide by not having the documents out front?
On the integrity of the documents we've received, there really is no integrity. They have alterations, they have oddities, attachments are missing, emails are cut off halfway through a chain, recipients' names are missing.
Sir, we just got a document dump last night of over 40,000 pages. I would venture to say not one senator here has had time to read through those 40,000 pages.
Okay, so just quickly for context, Mitch McConnell was iffy on the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh because of his past. And what I mean by that is Kavanaugh has served as a judge for quite some time. He worked with Ken Starr to impeach Bill Clinton. So the reason why Republicans have fought against allowing Democrats to see all these documents ahead of time is because it would further complicate the confirmation process. That's why Mitch McConnell didn't really like him as a Supreme Court nominee. Now, with that said, Democrats finally got access to the documents that they asked for, but as Senator Harris said in that clip, they didn't really get it until 15 hours prior to the confirmation hearings beginning. So that's what's happening.
So, and there's layers upon layers of this. There are a great number of documents that were requested by the Democrats that are in the archives, and they won't get access to all of those. The Bush lawyers, because he worked for Bush, are withholding some. And then when they pass it on to Trump, Trump's people are withholding others and redacting it. That's why they have an incomplete record. The 42,000 they got in the middle of the night last night is not nearly all the records, but at least it's something extra. But they gave him no chance to look at it. How could you possibly read 42,000 pages, even if you had a team of people doing it, in 15 hours overnight? That makes no sense. These are the same Republicans who said, oh my God, the healthcare bill under Obama was so large, nobody got a chance to read it. Now they pull this stunt. So look, there are things that I can abide by and things I can't. People are all now concerned that there was too much fighting and interrupting in this proceeding. I am not worried about that at all. They should fight. And Republicans fought. They fought tooth and nail to make sure that Merrick Garland never sat on the Supreme Court. They fought for a year. They did every legislative and procedural trick in the book to do that. So, I don't mind the Republicans fighting back against the Democrats in this proceedings. That's not an issue. What I cannot abide is people like Ben Sasse, and I've said some positive things about him and called him classy Ben Sasse because of the things that he has been honest about in regards to Trump, and he did that again recently when in protecting the rule of law. But in this case, he said the question before us is, can Kavanaugh put aside his policy views, I'm going to quote here, and political preferences, and put them in a box marked irrelevant and set it aside every morning when he puts on that black robe. Come on, who are you kidding? You're telling us that Kavanaugh, who's one of the most conservative guys ever nominated to the Supreme Court, was a deeply political partisan operative under Bush and others, and on the Ken Starr investigation, is going to put aside his political opinions? Please don't insult our intelligence. Whether you're Republican, conservative, liberal, Democrat, everybody knows every one of those judges, both conservative and liberal, bring their political opinions to the court. Everybody knows that. It's preposterous and stupid to argue otherwise.
It is stupid to argue otherwise because there's already evidence as to how Kavanaugh will conduct himself. So the Federalist Society has promoted him, endorsed him, has included him on the list of potential Supreme Court nominees for Donald Trump. The Federalist Society is very clear about their objective. They want conservative activist judges. They believe that conservative politicians, primarily the President of the United States, should specifically look for and promote and nominate conservative judges who will carry out their ideology while they serve on the Supreme Court. So again, if this is a Federalist Society pick, which Kavanaugh is, then of course he's going to be an activist judge. Of course he's going to promote conservative ideology.
So I got to jump in on that too, because look, the Republicans always say no more suitors. What does that mean? George H.W. Bush picked Souter, and it turned out that he wasn't as politically conservative as people thought he was, and he wound up siding with the liberals on the court a decent amount of the time. And so they're like, oh, we've got to make sure that never happens again. What does that mean? That clearly means I want a guy who is politically conservative. And why do you think that the right-wing evangelicals are celebrating Kavanaugh now and they're so excited by him? Because he's not going to overturn Roe versus Wade? No, they believe that he is going to overturn Roe versus Wade because that is his politics. Now, when it comes to judicial principles, well, Anna's right. He would have to be an activist judge, and he has shown in the past that he is, to overturn precedent. Now, Roe versus Wade is a precedent that is decades old, but Kavanaugh has shown in previous rulings that he would consider overturning that precedent. Why? He claims he's conservative judicially. If you're conservative judicially, you would not overturn that precedent. You would only do it if you're conservative politically. And you don't have to guess. In fact, in one of the documents that we got, there's a quote from Kavanaugh because he helped the Bush administration pick judges. So he said at the time, and Sheldon Whitehouse, Democratic senator, summarized it this way: he coached judicial nominees to just tell senators that, quote, this is now Kavanaugh's quote, that they will adhere to statutory texts and they have no ideological agenda. And Whitehouse says fairy tales. So Kavanaugh literally coached other people to go and deceive senators by saying, oh my God, oh golly gee, I would never take politics into account. He's the one who wrote that playbook. So spare me your crocodile tears about politics. He was appointed because of politics, and he will be deeply political on the Supreme Court. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.